Hi, this is Melissa.
Hi. Yes, this is she. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you? I think I've been saying your name wrong all along then.
Oh, yeah. It's like it's. I tell everyone if you think of it as like if you think of it as Spanish, then you can get it easier. But like because it's my husband is Nigerian, so it's a very different last name.
Well, I thought it was of Spanish origin, so I've been saying Oretade. So I
No,
thought
that's close. It's Oretade. It's close.
Oretade. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how do you? I mean, that's how the original pronunciation is,
Yeah.
or Oretade.
Yes, Oretade. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry for butchering your name. I try so hard not to ever do that. So I'm glad to finally get to meet you and or at least via phone. I've been playing your song Nevermind, and I mean I will tell you that my first time I played it, I said, here's somebody who's fulfilling my CeCe Winans and Whitney Houston like bug that I need. Like that's
Oh God, it's good.
like really that I mean I love, and it's funny because when you first start singing I'm like, yeah, she can sing, and then you kept going, I was like, what? And then like, I mean, it's like everybody that I'm a fan of, like Christina, Mariah, and Whitney, and all these people, like, just when you think they're done, they go another notch, and that's kind of where the song was going, and I loved every minute of it. But I was great. I read your bio and I was like, wow, I haven't even touched the surface though on what you're about. So, singing is not your first education necessarily.
No, yeah, it's been a long road. I actually started out where I was gonna do pediatric dentistry. But that was more from my mother. So because she wanted me to be a doctor, so I studied molecular biology and biochemistry in my undergrad. But I wasn't necessarily fulfilled. Like working in like three labs and everything, and I didn't necessarily enjoy the process. But I did enjoy working with children. So that's the route that I ended up going in, for a bit, you know. So I got my master's in elementary education, and I just got my reading cert. So I'm certified as a reading specialist and a reading consultant as well, like a literacy consultant. But even that, like that's been used for me as a way of ministering to people who are in need of assistance. Like children. I also volunteer with adults who need help with reading as well. Volunteer my services, and I end up spending a lot of time mentoring young girls. In regards to relationships and knowing their worth and things like that. So my goal, of course, is to just do the Lord's work and to minister to whoever is needed, needs the ministering. So it's just kind of a whole thing that that we have going on.
You
We all,
you wear a lot of hats.
my husband and I own a gym also in Connecticut, and so I do a lot of teaching about health and fitness and a lot of things like that. So
So you didn't want to throw in like a law degree too or something just to complicate everything?
I'm not going to lie. I have thought about it, but I told myself that if I'm going to do another degree, I'll finish my doctorate first, and then I will move on to something else, just to make sure that I got through everything on that educational aspect. But the music, of course, is my first love. I was, with writing Nevermind, I wrote that like many years ago, when I was going through my own personal turmoil, but I didn't want other people to think that the Lord didn't love them. And so the way I wrote it was as though Christ is speaking to us from his point of view,
Right.
you know. So I'm just trying to do everything that I've been called to do, and to win as many souls to the Lord as possible.
But you have a bachelor's in microbiology,
Molecular biology and
molecular
biochemistry,
biology, okay, and but a master's in
elementary ed,
elementary
and I have
education, okay.
something something called a 6-year degree that's only in Connecticut. It's specific to Connecticut, but the rest of the country calls it an EDS, in literacy and curriculum instruction.
My son went through pre-primary impaired preschool for like 3 years because he had hearing trouble when he was young. So he had speech and language therapy up until he was probably in fourth grade. And it's definitely a ministry because it's hard on the kids, but it's really hard on the parents when you love your kid and you just
Yeah.
want them to not be. My son was a victim of being bullied eventually, and you're doing everything you can, and so were they, and it's hard even when all the cards are stacked and you're trying trying to play your hand best you can. There's still so many other challenges because the world's still the world and the enemy lives in it. So there's still going
Exactly.
to be a lot of challenges. I'm curious. It says in your bio about your music that a lot of it comes from like your personal struggles. Is there something specific that kind of sparked that?
Like the personal struggles really probably more tend to it's both like where things have happened to me and of course the bad decisions I've made as well. So it's kind of twofold.
Okay.
Growing up, I grew up in a predominantly predominantly black church. I was bullied a lot through that because I was not the same, not the same skin tone, but I was bullied a lot there, and then I was bullied a lot in school because I was considered smart. So, and I was a lot smaller than the kids that I went to school with because those kids had stayed back about 2 or 3 times. I was in a public school in an urban setting, and so I'm already small. I'm only 5'1", and so I'm already short, like short statured, and so I dealt with a lot of bullying. And I was through my educational career up to 8th grade alone. I had to deal with people promising me that they're going to get gangs, local gangs after me to kill me. People threatening me with knives and stuff like that during school hours, and the teachers not doing anything to deal with that issue. Between that and then my parents getting a divorce once I got into high school, I tried to become like a tougher,
Yeah.
which is not really my nature, and doing things to prove that I wasn't afraid of anyone, and getting involved in my own personal turmoil. But most of that turmoil came along with in relationships, relationships that weren't godly, and relationships that the Lord doesn't want us to be part of,
Right.
And which is why I take it so seriously. I take bullying seriously, which is why I'm in the school setting, and I take the hearts of young women seriously because a lot of young women behave in ways that that are not good for them, but they don't understand why they're behaving that way. But they're behaving that way due to hurt, a lot of hurt,
Right.
a lot of pain. And so those are the personal struggles, really. That's like the surface level. Of course it gets a lot deeper than that.
Right.
But that's the surface level of why I choose to minister in the ways that I choose to minister in.
Well, and being in and working in education now after going through what you did, I'm sure you can tell it's a vicious circle. And I don't know who's more afraid, the teachers or the kids, and they get so afraid that they try to become blind to it so that they can pretend they didn't see something because I think they get threats. I'm pretty sure they do. I don't I think I don't take up for anyone who doesn't say something if a kid's being threatened, but it's also for teachers being in those situations, I'm sure it's not easy for anyone, but I agree with with young girls, and I have 2 girls and they're 20 and 22, and I still worry about, they're not married, they live out on their own, and I have a son that's 24 and he's like mama's boy, but in a good way, like his wife will thank me one day, not like
Yep.
she won't like me. He's a gentleman, he's a good kid. But my daughters, they're wonderful too, but like it's so hard when you have daughters because it's one thing when my son got bullied because I could teach him to be stand up for himself and use his voice and stuff like that. But for my girls, anyways, it's something that I think it'll work to your advantage now, even though it was to your disadvantage then, because I know a lot of girls that are, in ministry and music ministry, that because they look more like somebody they, like could be a peer, they open up more. And to me, I thought you were in college. I'll be honest, when I saw your picture, I wouldn't have thought you were already graduated at all. Like I thought you were my daughter's age.
I'm 36.
Oh, like don't even go there. Oh my.
Yeah, it's true, and I wear my hair like Punky Brewster in a side ponytail a lot, and so at work, like the kids are like, "Oh, I thought you were a kid," and the adults are like, "Oh, I thought you were a kid." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." It's like I'm short, and I don't dress like, I'm 36. So,
well, that's good. That's good. Like I said, it'll work to your advantage. I really do love your style. I went on your website and listened to your other music, and man, I mean, how did you find time? You had some coaching, or at least you practiced a lot, because your voice is so trained sounding. Did you do some vocal training at all?
No, I didn't do any vocal training. But my mother's obviously, she's not a vocal, coach or anything like that, but she basically growing up told me if I don't sound like Whitney Houston, I'm wasting everyone's time. So I had to practice again and again and again and again, over and over, until she felt that it sounded decent enough to be in public.
That's like telling my son, if you don't play basketball like Michael, just hang it up. Like,
I mean, it's a great thing to have someone who pushes you. At the time, I can say it was quite stressful, but I'm appreciative, and it's nice in that I don't have a lot of. I vary on the confidence level, and I attribute that to my walk with the Lord, because it's just like how people are like, okay, yes, I'm a Christian, and then sometimes you're like, I'm not really doing Christian things, so like, you start to worry that you're not making good choices, you're worried that you're not representing Christ in the proper way, and with that comes the humility, just like how Paul says, the things I want to do, I don't, the things that I don't want to do, I do,
Yeah, exactly.
And so knowing that, like, there is a lot of humility that comes with the task of creating music and then delivering the music in a way to always remember that you are doing it to win souls and to help people know that their Savior came and died for them and loves them. So in the music itself, I try to do my best to, remind everyone that this is the Lord's work. It's to God be the glory, and there's no part of me. I'm just a vessel, that helps the Lord reach the people He wants to reach.
Do you sing? Do you sing around your kids? Are you already teaching? By the way, I didn't even ask.
I do. Yes, I am teaching them how to sing.
That's a great way to learn. Is it not? I mean, I sing all the time. I don't sing good at all. I mean, I can sing badly, but I can't sing good. But I sang all the time around the house because I just love music. But my son, when he had hearing trouble, like that's something that I would do with him, is sing songs with him. And
awesome.
And that, I don't know if it's a real thing, you can tell me, but it seemed like it helped him learn, speaking better.
Yeah, so what studies find, studies show that music is the only thing that activates the entire brain at the same time. And so if your entire brain is activated, it means that, of course, all parts are, all of those neurons and everything, the dendrites, everything is firing away. All the signals are being passed. And so any task or anything that you are working on that may seem difficult will become easier through music. So what you did was you helped your son to be able to speak better by giving him that gift.
I think NSYNC must have helped him, because he sang a lot of NSYNC songs at the time.
Like
he loved pop music.
No, music helps. All um, everyone's preference is different, but at the end of the day, the Lord is the creator of music. Yeah.
You have such a beautiful voice. I can't believe you're so, you know, you're so accomplished for somebody your age. I mean, to already, regardless, to have all of this, you have so many, like I said, you have so many different facets to it that there's so many, you're never going to run out of ministry avenues for sure. So I'm really glad. Thank you for sharing it. It's very hard sometimes to finally get vocal, and even though culture is finally starting to step up and speak against injustice again for the first time since like the 60s, like everybody's finally coming back around and standing up.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe too much and in the wrong ways, but I don't know. I don't know. It's not being heard is a very difficult thing, especially if you're a young person, someone that can't speak up for themselves. So you're going to be a voice for the voiceless, and that I mean that's really how I see you. And
The goals. One of the goals.
well, I think you definitely have the voice. I mean, but I think you also have an emotional and spiritual voice behind your testimony that's going to be strong for especially young women. And I think young women are at more need than almost anybody, except for orphans, of course, or, I mean, but like that, they think that guys can say what they want, but they talk about it in songs or in culture like they want a woman that looks a certain way, but they really don't. They want to look at one that looks like that, but in reality they don't want a woman who dresses like that and talks like that. They want a woman that's godly. They want a woman with good morals and has integrity, and if they, unfortunately, when girls, and I've watched my girls struggle with it, you start giving into that peer pressure of, I'm supposed to look like this girl in that music video, or even the artists themselves, dressing scantily or talking about things very vulgar, and they just think, wow, like, I'm not even something any guy would want. And what's sad is they don't know that guys really don't. They might want that girl one night or one day, but they don't want to marry that girl. And
No, exactly. And women don't. You're right. Young girls don't truly get it, And I always want to save them the heartache of getting it later, where they've committed more sins than they want to, because we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. But some of us, I tell everyone, I said, some of us sin a lot more than others. And
well,
some of us,
and there's more consequences and more scars and more things to overcome, and the enemy will use them. It will use them against you, and that's probably what you face is when you talk about, sometimes losing your footing. It's because the enemy is a liar, and he wants to tell you you have so much in your arsenal for the kingdom that he's going to fight you. I mean, you are such a threat to him that don't expect to not be fought constantly by him, and because you have too many things that you could change for the kingdom, and he don't want that. So just know that that's a good thing when you feel him fighting you and trying to tempt you. It really is. It's not God. That's the enemy being afraid of what you're about to accomplish.
A lot, though. It is a lot of fighting. I have to be honest, and so I think that's why I fight so hard. I fight so hard for my students. I fight so hard for my mentees. I fight so hard for the people that I come across in the churches. I mean, when I sang last weekend at the church I was singing at, a lot of the people at the church have the CD, so everybody was singing along, and it was just really nice, to just have that time and to enjoy them, and everyone enjoyed it, and it wasn't Nevermind, it was Follow. I don't think you probably have heard Follow and Soldier of Christ.
Yeah, and I heard those. They're on your website.
Yeah. And so, because those are not like as popular right now, because I haven't been pushing them, it was like, whoa, everybody, these people know all the words. So it's funny to see it, to watch it in action.
But that's encouragement to deposit
Yeah.
back into you, because
Yeah.
you give of yourself. I tell my kids, I tell people all the time, you can't, if you're in a ministry, it's kind of like a checking account. You gotta put money back in your spiritual bank. Because if you keep spending and spending and spending, you're going to get burnout, and you're not going to be effective, and you're going to just be worn out and fed up, and you'll probably quit. And you have to let people bless you. You have to let God feed you. You have to, spend that time with Him every week and every day.
Yeah.
You have to get that, and then getting that spiritual encouragement back from other people that hear you sing, or like love your music and say something to you. There's nothing non-humble about taking it in. Just say, I receive it. Just receive it as the blessing that it is, because that's the way people mean it. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's the encouragement you need in order to tell the enemy, guess what? I don't believe anything that you're saying. You don't making any sense, because I have too many indicators that I'm on the path God wants me to be on. And there's too many ways to shut him up, and you have to speak. I love that Casting Crown song, Voice of Truth. That's the only voice we're supposed to listen to. And we'd all like in the song, he said we'd all like to be the guy that was courageous enough to, slay a giant with a slingshot. We'd all like to be that guy that stepped out on the water, but
Yeah.
maybe we all didn't have that courage. But,
Yeah.
when we listen to the voice of truth, that's the only voice we have to listen to, because the enemy will lie every time, and he will discourage and destroy. That's what he came to do. And so just be encouraged, and don't quit doing what you're doing. You have too many things that I know. You have too many things that God can use. You never know where your education is going to take you in the ministry, and vice versa. I mean, there's just so many avenues, and I'm praying for you, because I think you have so many things to offer, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate all of the encouragement, because, it's like all of that. And of course, being a wife and a mom, those are full-time jobs.
Yes, they are. I mean, by themselves, without any other work or anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, even just a mom. I've been a single mom for like 13 years. Let me tell you, just the
No,
mom part by itself. I've always had to work, even before I had my kids. But then after my, my divorce, I was a single mom. I had to work, but I got to work, but yeah, the mother job is a lot harder, and it's never ending. You never spike the ball. I mean, my kids are all in their 20s. Two of them are out on their own. My son rents out, half my house, like, because there's too much room now.
yeah.
He pays rent, so basically they're all doing their own thing. So they don't need me like a parent anymore. But still, it's the I don't know what to do, mom, this and that, and you're constantly praying, because now they're out of my control. Now they're, all out I have no idea where they're at, who's with them, who might
Yeah.
talk to them. I mean, then you really have to put your faith in God. I gave God my kids when I found out I was pregnant, and I never took them back. I
Well,
I had temporary custody of them, basically. That's how I
that's
look at it.
exactly how you have to look at it. It's exactly how I look at it. These are on loan to me, and I am truly grateful for my three. Um, but it is just that, it is a loan, and the Lord expects us to do right by our kids to the best of our ability. Wherever we fall short, He'll take care of. But it sounds like you did a great job with them. The fact that you have a great relationship with them, speaks volumes. So you should be very happy about the life that you've provided for your children.
I think I learned, you were talking about a little bit of like the parental pressure. I'd seen a lot of my friends be pressured by their parents, and my mom never pressured me to be anything except follow God. And
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even a goal. I think she was a struggling single mom, and that's all she could teach me to do is follow God. She didn't have time to teach me yeah, you need to be a, whatever, molecular biologist, or, whatever. I mean, she didn't have time to like try to figure me out a career. She just basically said, follow God wherever that leads. And
Yeah.
when my kids, it started to enjoy and excel at something, I said, then take it somewhere. You already enjoy it, you excel at it, then you're gifted there. Use it. I mean, I'll support you. But then if they played for an entire season and that wasn't something for them, then I said, fine, but you got to finish the season.
Yeah.
Finish the season, but that's how you find out is you try different things. So I continually just let them try different things.
And I tell people you have to enjoy life. Like I'm leaving actually right now. Right after we get off the phone, I'm driving to Connecticut to pick up. I'm living in Virginia now, but I'm originally from Connecticut. But I'm driving to pick up my husband, and then going down to New York so we can fly out to. I don't know if you know Trinidad and Tobago. It's a small island.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother is from Tobago, and her mother just passed, so we're going out down to
She
the
did
funeral.
say you were going to a funeral.
Yeah, so we're going down to the funeral. But in the meantime, I get to spend some time with my mom, and my husband, and we're not gonna have the kids, so it's
a little mental vacation.
Yeah, it's like a mini vacation, but I don't stay away from my kids.
It's hard.
Yeah.
How old are they?
5, 4, and 1.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my goodness. I went to when I was married, our 5-year anniversary, we had 3 kids within 4 years, and I wasn't supposed to be able to have children, and then I had 3 in 4 years. But on our 5th anniversary, my baby was a baby, and then I had the 2 toddlers, and he was a pilot, and he had a job out in Vegas, and he got a suite for 5 days that was part of his job, just to sit there and wait to fly back, and he's like, I've got this huge suite at the Mandalay Bay. We can see a show because we're not paying for rooms or food. Like we can take in a show, which we saw Mamma Mia. And I'm telling you, I really, really enjoyed myself until I put my head on my pillow. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that was my babies, But what it is, it's so good for you, and it's good for them. They need to grow that part of them that is able to not be afraid every time mom's out of sight, or they have to go through that too. They need to strengthen that aspect of themselves, but it's going to be hard. But then the reunion is that much sweeter when you come back.
Thank you for giving me that encouragement.
I'm praying for your family. I'm so sorry for your loss. Doesn't matter when, how, whatever it happens. There's never anything easy about death. And I tell your mom, I'm very, very sorry, and I'm praying for all of you guys, and praying for traveling mercies for all of you with all the traveling that you're going to be doing. So, traveling great distances.
Ginger, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
You too, and you be safe, and hug your kids real good, but then, and enjoy your mental respite.
You too. You enjoy.